of hands. Good, a little over half the room. That's actually encouraging. If you didn't raise your hand, if you didn't raise your hand, it's because you're not sure where your business or if you have business at all. Can you raise your hand? Please be honest and I can thank you. Cool. Who knows what a buyer's consult is? Okay, good. An underwhelming number of hands. That's awesome. For those of you who know what a buyer's consult is, Pete, thank you.
I do.
For all the veteran agents in the room, Tim, I'm sorry I looked at you when I said that, but
I'm lazy on it.
For those of you that do a buyer's consult, just out loud, like as it comes up, do you do a buyer's consult always, sometimes, or never?
Always.
I'm not saying like the book answer, I'm like, actually, what do you actually do? Always, sometimes.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Who said, is there any nevers?
No.
Rarely? Any rarelies? Okay, that's good. If you guys came and didn't grab a buyer's guide cheat sheet yet, they're right over on the table by Tim. Make sure you grab that.
I'll just bring those on yours. And then we'll copy.
I'm going to do my best to not spill this on you at some point tonight. How many of us in this room are comfortable getting a buyer's agency agreement signed? That's actually really encouraging. That's great. It's nice to see hands there. Who is terrified that they have to get a buyer's agency agreement signed? All right, good, honest. I like it. All right, we're almost at time. Housekeeping, if you're new joining us, follow us on socials, grab my buyer's guide cheat sheet in the back. Made that for you. That's for you, that's not for your clients, although it might work out really well for your clients too. If you just are totally unprepared and come with that, it'll still kind of work for you if you memorize this stuff.
Sal Lumber, it's his birthday today.
Sal, happy birthday. Let's go.
Senator, put down the canoe.
Hey, thank you, grazie, grazie.
Buon compleanno.
Can't hear you.
I'm to 42, grazie,
Can't hear you,
grazie,
Sal.
I say.
I don't know if it's us. It's probably you.
Yeah, it's me.
It's probably It's
Can you
TV.
hear me now?
You probably-
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you.
All right, grazie, grazie.
Prego, prego.
All right, the Italians have showed up. It's great.
He's old. He's younger than me.
He's old.
He's actually younger than.
Sal, how old are you? Got more hair than me.
42.
He's much younger than I am.
Hands up.
I feel 62, but I'm 42.
Yeah, it's the kids. It's definitely the kids. All right, everybody, last call, if you haven't grabbed Buyer's Guide cheat sheet, follow us on Instagram at Blue Flagsnet, that's our team, at Kurt Wubbenhorst. Sorry that you have to spell that out, at Meg Wood, she was much smarter than me.
And faster.
And faster. She's, well,
Cuter.
she's kind of on, in the garage right now. We got some repair work to do on the race car, so sadly, she was too fast for the pavement. All right, hi everybody, Kurt Wubbenhorst, co-founder and team leader of Blue Flags Network. Our office is in the back, well, kind of the front corner, but back of this office. We're the only team here that's not colored red, because the name was cool and we had to go with it. So, I have been in real estate as a real estate agent since 2017. I got into real estate when my accountant stole a bunch of money from me. So we've been hitting the ground running since we started. My wife has the purple hair in the back. She's a co-owner of our team. And of all of the things that I could possibly be teaching, or anybody from, or me and Meg could possibly be teaching, this is probably the only one that I'll do better than her. Which is, I know I like called it the best damn buyer's consultation, but I feel like now we need to rework it and call it the buyer's guide for the real estate apocalypse. I think that's probably like a more appropriate term given what we're doing. So I want to kind of set this up a little bit. doing, we're gonna talk about the actual consult. We're gonna talk about buyer's agency agreements, which I'm sure a lot of you guys wanna talk about. What I'm going to give you today is the script to execute a killer buyer's consultation. So that when you have to talk about money, it becomes easier. It's not gonna be a big problem when you get to that point. So I'm gonna set this up a couple different ways. We kind of did some room metering at the beginning. How many people work with more buyers and sellers? That was more than half the room. Most people do a consult at least sometimes, which is great. How many people practice their buyer's consult regularly? Thank God, Pete. Very nice, good. So you guys practice this. Do you guys know this is your buyer's consult, your listing consult? Most people think about it with listings first, but your buyer's consult, you can script just like you script your all the cold calling that all of you do. That was kind of sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm really sarcastic. You guys, if you don't know me, you'll find that out. This is something you can script and practice. I never did any of this because I'm totally a shoot from the hip type of guy. So Pete, who's an overachiever and does all of the stuff by the books, I think he and I are actually much more similar than I'm probably letting on. But I don't ever want to practice this stuff. I'm like the least rehearsed. I just want to go in and roll on charisma. And if you're like me, that only takes you so far. And when the market gets hard, you need to make sure that you have systems in place, you have processes in place in order to be successful. I think my buyer's consult is maybe the strongest part of my my job as an agent. I think, although I think a lot of people here know me as a passionate entrepreneur, the buyer side of a transaction is something I've always loved. It's my favorite part of the real estate transaction. They're my favorite clients. I love the consult because you get to talk about the next step or the first step that somebody's going to take on their home ownership journey or their home investing journey. The buyer side of the transaction is more fun. It's also more depressing, but it's more fun. You get to work on your clients' hopes and dreams with them. The sell side is a little bit more statistical, and that's not like really me. I think you're much more likely to have your buyer clients like you at the end of the transaction than your seller clients. I think it's a triumphant process. It's always been my favorite part. And if you guys have known me for a long time, you know that the buyer side of it is my favorite. So I'm not with all this, legislation and settlements and all this stuff doesn't scare me at all, because I think at the end of the day, buyers want representation. Buyers want service. And we are here to give it to them. And I'm going to show you guys today how my buyer's consult works. This is exactly what I do when I'm meeting with people. He's not here, but my right-hand guy, John Connolly, you'll see him walking around. He's got a really deep voice, and he's like he looks like he could kind of beat you up. John started on our team he wasn't even licensed for 2 years. He was kind of doing admin. He was one of those right guy, wrong seat person for a long time. I just knew we had to keep him in our organization. He got licensed 6-9 months ago, and he helps me do everything. And recently I had to train him on how to do a buyer's consultation. And I realized how much we undersell actually practicing the parts of the buyer's consultation and actually being able to do this really, really well. The things that I put on your buyer's guide cheat sheet, the things I put on your buyer's guide cheat sheet, I've dubbed the 4 pillars of your buyer's consultation. You're going to need to know these, and you should probably know them without having to look at them. Everything that you need to know in your buyer's consult, or your clients need to know, or you need to talk about, is going to come out of one of those 4 pillars. There's also a 4.5 or 5th pillar that we'll talk about, which is unique to you, but we're going to kind of get there a little bit of time. All right, everybody ready? I'm going to go through some basic sales, a sales lesson first before we actually dive into what's on that cheat sheet. So when I was 23 years old, the first and only job I ever had where I had a boss other than Megan, I worked for a manufacturer's rep firm in the pro audio industry in Pompton Plains called the Peter E. Schmidt Company. And Mike Schmidt brought me in, and he was like, and I was, musician, I was promoting my band. He's like, you're going to be great at this. You just got to sell, pro audio gear to Guitar Center, basically. So he had me train early with this. They had no training process like every sales job in the world, including ours. And he had me, like second day on the job, he met with this guy named Ron Cole, who was like an old school manufacturer's rep, old school sales guy. And as long as I've been in business, this is one of those things that keeps coming to the top of my mind that I want you guys to know, because it's one of those sales things that always sat with me for a guy that I never view myself as sales. Even now, I never think of myself as in a sales job. But Ron told me this, he goes, Kurt, you're gonna sell in this order. There's 4 things to sell. I don't know why everything's coming up before. There's 4 things to sell, and you're gonna sell them in this order. You're gonna sell yourself, you're gonna sell the company, you're gonna sell the product, and then you're gonna sell the price. If you do those things in that order, you're gonna have a much easier time closing on the price. So the reason those are important, selling yourself, if you cannot sell yourself, and if you do not do that first, if you do not sell yourself first, you will lose because they don't believe you. They want to believe you. Especially how many, if more than 50% of your buyers are millennials, raise your hand. Okay, good job. Guess what millennials want? They want to feel special. We are the participation trophy generation. They want to feel special. If you can't sell yourself, they think that you're full of it. They're not going to buy into you. Anything that you say, anything from the rest, you have to sell yourself first. So sell yourself, sell the company. I'll let you guys through the course of this decide what you feel like the company is for you. It may be you, sort of, again. It may be Keller Williams. It may be Blue Flags Network. It may be the Boswell Edison Group. It may be Team Mr. Cola. But you sell yourself, sell the company, sell the product. This is the product. The product is your service. The product is the process. And they've already bought into you. They've already bought into the ecosystem that you are a part of. And now you're helping them buy into a really thorough analysis of how they're going to go through the process, right? Then by the time we get to price, it's funny because the sales principle has always been in my head. And from buyer side, because the buyer's commission generally has been taken out of the seller's agent's commission, listing agent's commission up until maybe July, who knows? I haven't had this thought come into my head other than the listing side of it. But we're selling the price. The price might be, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you may have to, there are instances where you may have to cover buyer's commission. That cannot be the first thing we talk about. That really shouldn't be the second thing we talk about. And it really shouldn't be the third thing we talk about. If you get the other things right, you sell yourself, sell the company, sell the product, by the time you get to the price, you've brought them so much value that you're able to close that deal. You're able to close them as buyers. I have never signed a buyer's agency agreement until a couple months ago, and I've had 100% sign rate since then, and I've changed nothing about my buyer's consultation other than putting the agency agreement at the end, and they're ready to agree because they want service, they want representation. So you guys need to make sure that that's a belief of yours. If you don't believe that buyers want representation, you might as well stop working with buyers right now, because you're never going to overcome your own objections if that's the way you feel about the customer. All right, cool. I hope everybody write that down. Sell yourself, sell the company, sell the product, sell the price. You can write it down as the Ron Cole, COLL theory. I don't even know if that guy's still alive. He was like 75 when he trained me 16 years ago, 18 years ago. But I always feel like I need to represent because that was such a powerful thing for me. Practice is really important. Everything that we're going to talk about today, you should practice. Just like you would practice, we had our script off and we're practicing those scripts. Just like you practice your cold call scripts, your circle prospects, your expireds, just like you practice your listing consultation. You should practice your buyer's consultation and know it like the back of your hand. Practice, practice, practice. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So make sure as you're practicing, get it right, nail that in. Muscle memory is a powerful thing. All right. So I'm gonna grab another one. Is there a whole stack of those?
Yeah. Take it.
Oh, you got the spare? Sweet, thank you. All right, 4 pillars. I just want to start off by saying part 1 and part 2 are somewhat interchangeable, and it kind of depends on how your clients are and what your read of them are. Oh, you need one? All right, cool. All right, cool. You have to read your clients. Your first part of your process before you actually get into the pillars is actually introducing yourself, just like I did today. You want to introduce yourself. Remember the Ron Cole method, sell yourself. Talk about yourself. Why did you get into real estate? I can tell people, hey, I'm Kurt. I'm team leader of the Blue Flags Network. I love real estate. I got into real estate as an investor first, and I fell in love with it. And I love helping people like you buy a house. Sell yourself, have that conversation first. Ask them about them. How do you guys, what do you guys do for a living? How'd you hear about me? If they came in, if it was like some sort of a cold lead, anything you can do to get them talking after you talk a little bit about yourself, because you're about to talk a lot. And if you talk to anybody, I think Jeff Glover said this in at Eric Melnikoff's Build It Now last week, which was awesome. If you guys didn't go to it, you missed out. We want to try to be talking 20% of the time. Really difficult in a buyer's consultation, almost impossible. Maybe we'll take 50-50. So we're gonna really load up on your wants and needs. So make sure you guys, as you're presenting in your head, we want to try to get the sellers talking or the buyers talking as much as possible. Part 1 and 2 are interchangeable, depends on how the vibe is. If you feel like you need to liven that appointment up, you may flip these, but we'll go in this order because I like this order the best. Part 1 is the process. So you need to know the process of buying a house cold. 8 steps, really easy. Find an agent, here I am, get pre-approved. Here's a perfect opportunity for you to tee up your favorite lender. Then have your buyer's consult. The actual meeting you're having with them is step 3 of the process. They feel like they've already accomplished something. Let's have the consult. Find an agent, get pre-approved, have your buyer's consultation. Most of the time, they probably haven't had step 2, but that's still okay. They feel like, hey, I'm already on step 3. I kind of like, Mario warp whistled my way up the process here. Find an agent, that first step. I always say, step 1, find an agent, here I am, done. Automatically aligning, hey, you've accomplished that. Here I am, I'm here to help you. We're already assuming that we're working with them, right? They're here, they're meeting with us, we're having coffee, whatever we're doing to have our appointment. Make your offers is number 4. We're going to talk about how we make an offer. You're going to talk about how you put everything into .loop, DocuSign, how you send it out. You're going to talk about the fact that they're getting a contract on 13-page contract that looks big and scary. That's going to tee you up nicely into attorney review, but make sure you talk about the offer process. We're not talking about market conditions yet. So make sure, don't get hung up on making your offer, talking about market conditions yet. We're just talking about what the offer is going to be like. And we're talking about teeing into step 5 is that contract, even when the seller signs, is not a buyer agreement until we go through step 5, attorney review. Talk about attorney review. Everybody knows what attorney review is, right? Of course. Attorney review is a very unique thing to, not totally unique to New Jersey, but we do it more than any other state. It's one of the things that makes the buying process safest in our state versus like 1,000 other, like every other state. The fact that we have attorney review is the reason why, don't tell anybody this, we like submit 60 offers at a time when we're trying to buy a flip. And if you get too accepted, there's no financial repercussions for canceling. That's attorney review, great opportunity to tee up your preferred attorney partner, which for a long time was my dad, but it's a great opportunity for you to establish a relationship with a good attorney if you haven't built one yet. Every part of this buyer's process is helping you affirm relationships that you already have too, which is great. Then you go through under contract, 3 main contingencies of under contract. So you have your home inspection, you have your mortgage contingency, and you have your title. You can explain a little bit about each of those. If you don't know what they are, practice, learn, ask another agent. If you're newer in the business and you need to know what those details are, ask another agent. I can go through those details, but this is a great time to talk about how the protections of those contingencies make this process safe for the buyers. You may have a buyer that is scared of a home inspection or scared of things falling down or has unrealistic expectations that a roof costs 50 grand to replace or a septic costs 80 grand to replace. This is a great time to kind of dig into those things, find those things out. It's a great time to explain the mortgage process to the best of what we can do as not lenders. They need to talk to a lender about their mortgage process, but we get to talk about appraisal. We get to talk about all of the details that are going to hang up their mortgage process. We get to tell them while you're under contract, please don't buy a new car, please don't open up a Best Buy card. Please don't, go to Raymore and Flanagan and open up a card and finance all of your furniture for the house you're about to buy, no major credit things. The more of these little things you can put into the process, the more it affirms your knowledge in the job that we have. It affirms that you've got this. They're hiring you because you've got this. They're hiring me because I've got this. I'm not gonna let them miss a step. I'm not gonna let any of those things happen, and I'm not gonna let them do anything in their contract that's gonna jeopardize their deposit too. They're gonna talk, that's not a really big concern for people that we don't usually touch on that much in buyer's consults. Make sure they understand how the deposit process works, attorney trust accounts and all that. Under contract, walkthrough, you're gonna talk about your walkthrough process. If you're like me and you never go to closing, walkthrough, I let them know, I'm not gonna be at closing. You don't need me to be there to tell you how to sign your name 100 times. I'm gonna be at the walkthrough. I'm gonna figure out how we're getting the keys to closing. Well, I'm gonna go to the walkthrough. That'll be the last time you see me. You're gonna go to the attorney's office or the title company's office, and you're gonna sign your name 1,000,000 times, and congratulations, you own your house. When you move in, call me. Megan and I would love to stop by. We'll bring the champagne. We're happy to help. If you have something that you do at closing or for closing, or closing gifts or something to your clients, that's a great opportunity to tell them. One of our team's big closing value proposition is we do a charitable donation to a cause of our client's choice. So that's a great opportunity for me to tell them, don't expect me to show up with a care basket for you because I'm donating to the charity that you like. That's a great opportunity for me to say it, and they know it, and then they get our follow-up email when it actually happens. So those are your 8 parts of the process, and that's it. And you'll say the same thing to your buyers, and you'll say, any questions? And they'll probably ask you guys questions, and that's great. You want them to have some questions here. You want them to be able to ask different things. Everything that you do here, hopefully you've created enough clarity. Hopefully they say, yeah, that's great, awesome. But if anytime they ask questions, you got to make sure, figure out why they're asking, because it might be an opportunity to dig for some motivation, dig for some fears, dig for some things they're anticipating in the process. And that's the most you're going to talk this whole time, is that process. Any questions on how we do part 1?
Is there a reason why you don't go to the closing? It's just like what you preferred, you never went to one before? Or you went to one and said, this was wasting my time, I'm not gonna do this again?
No, once attorneys started kicking us out during COVID, I just never went back. I was like, this is great, because I don't need to be here. I don't know, my goal is to be busier, and closing is not a dollar producing activity ever. I like the triumph part of it, but I can create that experience for them at the walkthrough. And if they're using my attorney and my title company, I know our title rep is going to be outstanding on their closing process. So I also think that a lot of times it looks like we're just there to collect our money when we're at closing. So I want to avoid that. I don't want them to think ever about our money. I don't want our clients ever to be thinking about our money as much as we can. But that's a great question. Any other questions on the process? Sweet. All right, part 2, wants and needs. Best part of this whole thing.
Kurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you address this later, but before part 1. What are some tips, dialogue, whatever, that you get the client to get to that, to have the meeting?
Hmm.
And as a second follow-up to that, what are your qualifiers for someone who's eligible for your time spent to do a buyer consult?
I'm completely opposite of my opinion on closing. I will go to every buyer's consult, even if you're not ready. If you want to have a meeting with me and you want to talk real estate, I'm happy to do it. I believe I can extract business out of even unprepared buyers that will not be buying in the next 5 years. If I'm the guy and you have one friend in the world or one family member in the world, I'm gonna go through you to get other business. That's the way I feel about it. So I'd rather be the guy that helps them when they're not ready, because there's a bunch of other agents that'll say you don't have pre-approval, your financials are totally screwed up, you own your own business and you've only earned cash and you haven't showed anything, you're not gonna buy a house. I'm still gonna be that guy that says, look, I've been unapprovable before. and I'm gonna help you through that process. I'm gonna connect you with a lender that can give you a roadmap for the next 2 or 3 years. And I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that resource, 100%. That's a great question.
Did I kind of jump on your question with that?
No, it's okay. I mean, I was just, it was more of like, okay, I meet somebody at an open house or somebody I meet at the grocery store, you know, how do you get them to say, okay, let's sit down, let's have coffee, 15-minute meeting, 20-minute meeting,
Mhm.
a Zoom call, whatever means works best for you. How do you get them to commit to that?
Ask questions continuously until until the only possible other option is to meet and talk about real estate. And it's, sometimes the pitch is literally that, hey, do you wanna grab, let's grab coffee and talk about your real estate, your thoughts on what's going on.
Would you do it at a showing?
I wouldn't do it at a showing, no, I wouldn't do it at a showing, but we've never had a bottom of funnel lead source like Zillow. We've always had top of funnel nurture lead sources because it works for the way we like to do business. We want to be relationship builders, so you can't do this with Zillow's going to get. I think Zillow is going to be the biggest loser in this whole thing because they can't sell buyer leads to buyers who have to pay anymore. So all of the Zillow fears kind of go away. If you paid Zillow, you have to find somebody else to deliver you bottom of funnel leads. But ultimately, nurture is the name of the game. It always has been, and it always will be. So if everything you do is based on nurture, all you have to do is continue. I'm even getting with that.
Do you wanna make a video, please?
I don't think I can have that, but
Oh,
smells are free.
It's hard.
But
It's hard.
good, thank you. Thank you.
It's
Not
gross.
that it's sugar, it's like, it won't even taste good anyway, I'm
It's
sure.
gross.
But yeah, just, I think to your question, which is the same, almost the same thing, is just ask questions until that opportunity becomes apparent. When you get great at it, it's just gonna be something that flows out of you anyway. Like, people know that I'm gonna talk to them about real estate. In the same way, I think when you compare it to things that you like to do, like if you hang around me enough, what am I gonna talk to you about? Can anybody guess? Cars and music. Why? Because I like it. And real estate should be in that same ballpark. People should want to come up to you. We sponsor our track group, and people come up to us all the time and ask us about real estate, not because we're trying to sell something, but because we legitimately like it. It's changed our life. We've made real estate investments since we were first married. Instead of buying a house with a white picket fence, we bought an ugly mixed use property that turned cash flow. So I love it. I love it just like I love my clean and Meg's currently beat up race car. Like, we love it. And like, if everybody knows that, you're never gonna have to answer those questions because people are gonna know that it oozes out of you. And look at who's modeling it. When you look around our market center, there are plenty of great examples in our market center of people who it oozes out of, and you can't ignore it. And that's the way you gotta be. And it will make your life 1,000 times easier. It'll make those conversations come to you and show up to your doorstep. It'll make nurture calls easier because they know what you're about. They know you're not calling them for the sale. You're calling them just because the market's kind of exciting. Hey, there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of changes that happen in real estate. It's really interesting. Agents know I'm pumped because I think this is going to weed out some dead weight agents, and it's going to be some huge opportunity for buyers, massive opportunity for investors. It's exciting, and I think if you let that come out, that leads itself much easier into getting that consult appointment, for sure. And that works for everything. It works for lending, it works for financial advising, it works for anything. Cool.
Sorry, one more.
Yeah,
What percentage of them do you do in person, Zoom?
whatever their needs are.
Yeah.
Whatever their needs are. I think more in person, but if I have somebody that's away or remote, I'm not afraid to, like, Zoom's totally cool. I usually tell them, I'm like so coffee centric, as I clutch my cold brew. I'll like tell them to go get a coffee on their Zoom console, just so we can feel like we're at a coffee house, because it's just me, well, caffeine. Clearly, but yeah, it's, it's fine. It's fine, as long as you can see them. I don't like blind, like, if they're not on camera, then I'm like, really? That's kind of weird. But that almost never happens. Cool. Questions before I move on to part 2?
I don't wanna give you time to get through this, but, you know, we have, like, how do you handle buyers who are like, I don't need that, like, I know the process, you know, you mentioned investors, which kind of like piqued my kind of thought process on this.
Good question. That's why part 3 and part 4 are so critical to this. I'm not gonna go out with you if you don't meet with me to talk about the process. If you bought 50 houses last year and you told me exactly what you want, that's awesome. We're gonna have a shorter consult, but I'd still like to buy you coffee and talk to you about how the process is gonna work. And what do those guys wanna talk about? They wanna talk about strategy.
Right.
Cause unless they think you're a conduit, in which case I'm not gonna work. If you're just a guy to
By
write.
conduit, you mean just opening doors?
Yeah, door opener, offer writer, that's it.
Right.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. No way. But if they're like, yeah, I definitely wanna hear about like where opportunities come from that and stuff. Then we're good, then we're gonna have a meeting. So that's a really good question, actually. Part 2, wants and needs. We're gonna talk to them, we're gonna ask them, all right, wants and needs, what do you like? And this is the smiles come out, they can't wait to tell you what they want. This is the opportunity to get them talking. Best opportunity in this whole thing to get them talking. They're gonna tell you everything, you're gonna ask them everything. This part, I like almost don't have to explain this, but there are some really good opportunities to talk about in your wants and needs. One of them is, which is always fun, if you could do it right, it actually ends up being fun for the client, is to actually like pressure test want versus need. And like have fun with their scenarios. If they say, we've gotta have a 4-bed and I work from home, and what about everything in the house is perfect, price is perfect, location's perfect, it's a 3-bed, but you can have an office in the basement, and the basement's really nice. All right, I guess I don't need a 4-bed, maybe a 3-bed. Like, that's when you pressure test some of these things and make it fun. Don't make it like, well, I don't know if you can get that in your price range. We're not talking about market conditions yet and what they can afford. We're just talking about what they want. What they want, what they need. Simple, much easier than part 1, right? I don't need to talk that much because they're just gonna talk the whole time. We're just gonna keep asking. You need to ask questions, just keep asking. Well, what's important to you about this? You find, we'd really love a garage. Well, what does that mean? What are you gonna put in your garage? How big of a garage do you need? Is it for storage? Is it for cars? Are you putting your garage band in there? Obviously, all things I'm interested in, but add those things. Home gym. What are some things that you like? What are some things that you want? You ask them questions on the front end, like what they're about, who, you know, where they come from, who they are, what they do. Another great opportunity to ask about that. You can get into their hopes and dreams with their wants and needs. So you gotta make sure you're constantly digging for that. What are you gonna do with this? What are you gonna do with this? We want, you know, it's a young couple, first time buyers, and they want 4 beds. Why do they want 4 beds? Are their parents gonna come and live with them sometimes? Do they have friends coming from out of state? Are they planning on having a gazillion kids? What's their motivation? Great opportunity for you guys to dig into it. Because what happens when we know their motivation is through the process, we keep referring back to that. We keep pointing back to their motivation. You guys are so used to doing this with sellers. You know, we know the seller wants to move to Florida. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we just can't wait to help you get to Florida. That's the thing we focus on in that listing. For buyers, we're doing the same thing. We know you want to plant your family roots here. That's what we're doing. We know you want to have that house with the perfect. John, who I referenced before, my right-hand guy, I can't call him my assistant because he's way more than that. John needed a garage. He is a race car guy, and he had to have a garage. It wasn't a possibility that he buys a house with a garage. But on the wants and needs, if we found a house that was in budget, that he could build a garage, that had land for it, he was open to it. Even a guy that needed a garage became a want, not a need, as you start to dive into those things and figure it out. Questions on wants and needs analysis. Easy, fun, let your personality come out, have fun with them, mirror and match. If they're excited, be excited. If they're nervous, if they're dreaming, be that with them, mirror and match. That's part 2. Part 3 is market conditions. One of the most overlooked parts about it, because we usually try to wrap it into wants and needs, which is a mistake. If we wrap it into wants and needs, and they say, $400,000, I want 3 beds, and I want to be in Wayne non-flood. You're going to laugh at them, and you must avoid trying to laugh at them at this point. Market conditions is where we get to talk about strategies.
So just to be clear, don't laugh at your clients.
Don't laugh at your clients. Unless they laugh first, like, I know this sounds crazy, but I have no money down, I have a USDA loan, and I wanna buy a gut renovated house,
Seller's
for.
concession.
Yeah, with a seller's concession, and like, I mean, many people here have those stories of like, we got those miracle things done, right? So like, don't. You need to figure out where you're having that conversation, but wants and needs is not where we're gonna laugh at them. Market conditions is where we're gonna let the data laugh at them, and they're gonna start to figure out what's going on. So market conditions are your opportunity to tell them about what is happening in the market that they're trying to purchase in, and where their opportunities lie, and where their biggest challenges lie. And there's a huge spectrum of that, right? Like, I used a really glaring, nearly impossible scenario, but this is where you get to show them what's happening. You get to talk to them about, and obviously, you guys are pros, we don't need to have a computer in front of us at all times to be able to talk about the market conditions of a particular town. But you guys know, if somebody's looking in Quantic for anything, it's gonna be hard. If they're looking in Sussex County Broad, and they want some land and their wants and needs are pretty vague, we probably have an opportunity to, it's probably not gonna be that challenging. Our biggest challenge there is gonna be narrowing their search field to find something that's a little more specific. In some ways, a really picky buyer is easier than a not picky buyer. You guys found that? Am I the only one? I'm not the only one? Good. I had a buyer last year, Megan O'Brien was a listing agent, and they were looking for 2 years. And the guy's sales guy, Auto Couture Motoring in Fairlawn, gazillion cars, had to have a huge garage, wanted to be in Bergen County and Ramsey, and they're like, that's hard. He bought a house with like an airplane hangar. It's like the house was okay, the garage was awesome. I think they looked at like 3 properties in 2.5 years, and that's actually a good use of time. Because I wasn't out showing properties with them, they looked at 3, it was easy. So getting that wants and needs to market conditions is where we kind of help refine what they're looking for. And so this is also a spot where psychology comes into it. If you understand your client, you talk about their wants and needs, you learned a little bit about them. There are buyers that have to feel like they're getting a deal. If we know that, we're going to craft our search based on that. If we have buyers that are ready to swing for the fences or have the financial wherewithal to do it, that opens up a different strategy. So this is an opportunity for you guys to look at the current market of where they're looking and find opportunity. This is what we get paid to do more than anything. This is what, as buyer's agents, we get paid to do. Find them a house that they can get, be successful. This is where we earn our buyers compensation, for sure. Getting them to where, because you can have buyers that are super qualified within what they're looking for, and their strategy is wrong. You have FHA buyers right now that absolutely can get their low down payment, that absolutely can get an offer accepted on a home, but they're just looking at the wrong homes. This is where we get paid. This is what we get paid to do. So it's understanding market conditions. You have to tell them about it. You have to be able to sell them on the fact that the market conditions are extreme right now. Why are they extreme? Have some knowledge of the market, have some data to be able to show. My biggest thing is, look, there's a lot of people that come in with preconceptions of why the market is the way it is. For me, what I tell them is there's a number of factors. The biggest one is supply and demand is the oldest economic principle in existence. And we've just underbuilt since 2008, like 5 million housing units nationwide. And in an area like New Jersey, where we're not building up vertically or there's restrictive land use, we just don't have enough houses for the people here. That's it. Yes, interest rates. Yes, millennials are the largest population to ever exist between 89 and 93 birth year. But we just don't have enough houses. That's it. That's the nature of it. And because of that, it's a supply and demand issue. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean that you're not going to find a house. It means we're going to have to be really strategic about what we do to get your offer accepted. Make sense? questions on market conditions. This one we could unpack forever, ever.
But Kurt, I don't wanna overpay for a house.
Are you gonna?
Yeah.
What do you define as overpaying? What do you define as overpaying? I don't want you to overpay for a house either. What does overpaying mean to you?
Yeah, well, you know, I hearing about all these bidding wars, I don't wanna have to, you know, keep going up and up and up, cause you know, it's just not worth it.
Totally understand. There's two types of people that have that share that thought, and it's not a wrong opinion. You have people that feel like no matter what, they have to get a number off the price, regardless of anything.
Right.
And if that's you, that's totally fair. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at houses that have been on the market for 3 weeks or more. Because those are properties that do not have bidding wars currently. Almost guaranteed. I mean, it could, but that's gonna be our target area, right? I don't even know what the second one is. I already lost my train of thought. But the bottom line is, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look for properties that have been on the market for a longer period of time. If they are caught up in the idea that bidding wars are things that they want to avoid, they're gonna have to see it. In my experience, they're gonna have to see it in order to overcome
But I
it.
think that's great, saying like, yeah, we can position it there, this is what you're gonna have to do, I never thought about that,
Mhm.
it's a good call.
Yeah. Every FHA, USDA, VA buyer, the biggest opportunity for them is stuff that's been on the market for 3 weeks or more. Maybe 2 weeks now, the market's moving so fast.
You also recommend maybe lowering their price point so their bids, you know, if they're in a bidding war, they can escalate.
Most people, yes, if they have the down payment to be able to back it up, most people, yes. And many are gonna have to see it firsthand before they actually know what it means. It's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to know it, so, I think it's worth getting a little bit of hardened skin for the fact that there are clients that we're gonna have to take out and let them get beat up a little bit before they
And
understand.
they say their max is, you know, we don't wanna go above 650, so let's look at $600,000
Mhm.
houses and six, you know.
Yep.
Maybe, well, you know, have to come down maybe to 550, that way you can go up to.
Yeah, and there's clients I'll go out with, like, first time, I just did a consult with them, first time, and as much as I can convey value, I'll be leaving for the showing, and they'll go be like, they haven't, you know, what are your thoughts, do they have a chance at this? I'm like, no, we're going out for an education. We're gonna educate them first, and sometimes it means they're submitting an asking price offer on something that's gonna go 100K over, and that's gonna let them know that the market is really competitive, but until they see that. Or I'm like brutal with it too, like if the listing agent is like, you were the last offer of 35, you were the lowest offer of 35. I'm going to tell them, you were the lowest offer of 35. Welcome to the North Jersey real estate market. And obviously you gotta do it in a loving way, but some people will need to get beat up a little bit. And it's our job to convey facts and data to that.
What about the ones with the T-Rex arms and deep pockets?
Can you elaborate on that?
They want to go 1,000 over over the listing price. And I was like, that's not gonna do.
I think I get what you're saying. Well, they might either have to be beat up, they may not be actually bona fide buyers. They may not be mentally ready to compete for what they want.
Lost a couple with them. I say, you guys are not, you gotta,
Not realistic.
I had
yeah, pretty much. I say, you guys aren't putting your best foot forward.
use as much anecdotal examples as you can. And one I use all the time in this scenario is my financial advisor, Lang, moved from Hawaii. I don't know why he'd leave Hawaii, but he moved from Hawaii to Somerset County. And we were going through the buyer's process with him. He had basically an unlimited cash budget, and he couldn't understand why he was consistently getting beat out. He's like, how am I losing? We have $4 million of cash to work with. I was like, there's a lot of people with that kind of money.
Yeah.
And he had to learn that. And now that's a story I get to tell forever. That's a story I get to tell forever. Lang, who's my financial advisor, by the way, when we close, I'm gonna tell you to call him because he's awesome. He will tell you, just call him. Here's his cell phone, just call him, tell him, have him tell you his experience. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay. Doesn't matter how much money you have. There's a lot of people with that kind of money. There's a lot of people with that kind of money. There's a lot of people with cash. But everybody, you know, people have $1 million cash and they think they can buy anything they want, and they're average. They're the most mid buyer you can have. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on market conditions?
I got a question. So when you're working with buyers and you're starting, do you let them know right up front, we're gonna have to write X amount, we're probably gonna have to write 6 offers before anything gets, like, that's just what.
You're probably gonna lose a dozen.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna lose a dozen. Prepare, mentally prepare.
Yes.
The buyers who win, and I'll say this to them verbatim, the buyers who win in this market are resilient and they're patient. And I'm more patient and resilient than you will ever be. And we're in this together and we're gonna get there. Have patience, understand that you're gonna lose a lot to get there, but we will get there. And if you have a track record, it's a great opportunity to point to your track record. It's now that I've been in business for long enough and I have a reputation, it's easy for me to be able to lean on that. But if you're not, and you're on a team, lean on your team's reputation. If you're not, and you're not on a team, but you're at Keller Williams Prosperity, lean on KW Prosperity. There's real estate deals happening in this office every day, every single day. This office knows how to succeed. Your team knows how to succeed. If you have a track record, you know how to succeed, and you're going to show them that over and over and over again.
Have you ever had a client where you get to a certain point and then they start questioning you, doubting you?
Every once in a while,
Sure.
yeah, depends on I mean, I try to like weed those people out. Like, I don't want to work with, if somebody's just like a skeptic right from the get-go, I'm out. I have way too much on my plate to be dealing with somebody who doesn't trust me right off the bat. And this is, I mean, Meg rolls her eyes because she knows I'm gonna say this, but like, this is where I say, dude, I have blood cancer. I have a lot of other better things I could be doing than helping you right now, but I'd love to help you. I'm in this to help you. I hope nobody else has that excuse, but that's an opportunity to say, like, I would rather be with my kids. If you're not gonna trust me, I'm gonna be with my kids. I would much rather be with my kids or with my wife, or I'd rather be playing the drums. There's a lot of other things I'd rather be doing than working with somebody who doesn't trust me. And I'm not like that brutal with it, but that's the way I feel. So I'm gonna have to, with every client, you figure out how you deliver it. Like, I'm not faking this. I'm not going out and showing you properties because I have nothing better to do. I'm doing it because I told you, I promised you, we were gonna get a house. We were gonna get you the place. We were gonna get you into wherever. We were gonna get you, going back to our wants and needs, we're gonna get you that place where you wanna raise your family. We're gonna get you that place where you can go work on your car. We're gonna get you that place where you can have your band practices in the basement. We're gonna get you that place where yada, 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 yada. I'm not out here for no reason. I'm out here because I promised you I was gonna help you do it. I think if you can lean into that in a way, and everybody's different, I'm not usually venomous with that, but like, just mirror and match whatever they're, and if it's just not a good fit, it's not a good fit. You gotta know your worth, and I think that's hard in this market, because it's a supply and demand issue for us too. We're very reluctant to let go of bad clients, but it's not worth it if somebody's not gonna treat you favorably. So, if somebody's getting discouraged, which is a good second part of your question, if somebody's getting discouraged, I'll go out of my way to say, like, look, let's slow it down. Go back out for coffee. We're gonna have another consult, and we're gonna assess, and we're gonna look at what we did for the last 2 months. And the offers we lost, we're gonna see what comps we have, if they've closed, we're gonna see where they're at. And we're gonna find out, and we're gonna look at that versus what we're doing. And we might regroup. You might realize that one of the things that was a want or a need might not even be on the radar anymore. And something that was never on there is now very important to you. And that's a great opportunity for you to reset the expectation. I have 100% close rate on people who have reconsulted. There's a trust that gets built up when you're willing to like slow it down and sit down with them and do it again. We used to say, like, most buyers see like 10 to 12 houses before they put an offer in. I think a lot of those, like what we did, kind of go out the window now with how extreme the market is, but a reconsult is really important in this market if you need to, and it might have to happen after 3 properties, and maybe 10, maybe whatever, but use your judgment. A reconsult can be very, very, very healthy for you and your clients.
I got a question. So you're working with a buyer, you're thinking about the first time, you did buyer's consult, everything. And you show the house. Let's say everything. It's everything that they want, but they don't. make that jump because it's the first house they saw.
Mm.
It's the first house I saw.
Oh, great question. First house I saw. That I would put that as part of your conversation. That's really good, Julia. That is in my consult every time when you're talking about what they're searching for. Let them know this market is extreme. The first house you look at might be the one. You have to be prepared. We don't get to shop around a lot in this market. You have to be prepared. The first one, the first property you're gonna walk into, chances are is the best available option based on your search criteria. Because the first time you're looking at all of the search sites with me together, and we're gonna go out and schedule the first property, the first three, if you can even find three to look at one time. There's one there that's at the top of the list. It's been at the top of the list, that's why you scheduled it. So I think that's a great point, Julia. I think it's really important to note that. Make sure you let them know ahead of time. Be prepared.
Yeah.
Be prepared on the first trip.
Just to get the characters.
We don't get second chances.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes we do, but
It's sometimes, but yeah.
sometimes it's great to be second. And I think with all of that process, you may want to be able to cast that silver lining. Like, sometimes it's great to be second. Properties fall out of contract all the time. If we're the best of the rest, that's a great place to be. Because there's no competition there usually.
Yeah.
They're coming back to us and saying, like, hey, I like your offer, you like your clients, this offer's falling apart, would you go back? And let them know that happens. That happens. We're gonna cast some positivity throughout the whole thing. Anything else? Market conditions. Cool. Last part of your buyer's guide cheat sheet and your 4 pillars of the buyer's consultation is communication. This is a great way to give your clients your expectations of how you want to be communicated, as well as understand how they want to be communicated. Who texts their clients? Raise your hand if you text your buyer's clients. Yes. You have to figure out the expectation that you're going to set of your clients so that they don't either contact you at times you don't want to be contacted or expect a response when you're not able to. Everybody, you are totally entitled to have your own version of this that makes sense for you. What works for me might not necessarily work for you. What I do with my clients, for my buyers, is we'll do a group chat and I say, I have my phone with me pretty much all the time. And when I go to sleep or when I can't answer, my phone, when I sleep, my phone goes on do not disturb. And if I can't answer, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. You can text me at any time. You can send me properties at any time. I know you're sitting in bed at midnight looking through Zillow at properties. Are you looking at the properties I'm sending you? And that's what you're doing right before you go to bed, and it's probably what you're doing first thing in the morning. So if it's 3 a.m. and you want to send me properties, feel free to send me properties. I don't want you to feel like, oh, I can't send it because it's gonna wake her up. My phone goes on do not disturb. It's all good. I will respond as soon as I can. And if you set that expectation of what works for you, they will respect that. And you want to subsequently find out what works for them. How do you guys like to be communicated? If there's a property that comes on the market, do you guys like text? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to email you? If I have urgent information, what's the best way for me to get in contact with you? I think like I'm at like 10 out of 10 for people that just want to do group texts, put all the buyers in together. If you're a big, busy team leader and you have a showing partner, that's a great way to loop your showing partner in. It's one of the best ways if you don't have a showing partner, like an actual showing partner, it's one of the best ways to loop one in, because then that person, that agent is along for the ride with you and the client feels like they're connected. So this is my 3rd time referencing John. John is on every single one of my buyer's consults. He's showing more properties than me. And my clients know that we are a package deal and we do everything together. I'm not offloading them to John. We're working on them together. This is a great opportunity for you to set communication expectations. Communication, you're also going to talk about how you're going to send them property alerts. Does everybody here send property alerts from whatever CRM you use? Yes? Is there anybody that doesn't? All right, good. Thank God. Even if there is, you raise your hand. Make sure you're sending them property alerts. It's what they want. I'd rather them get it from your website than from Zillow, right? We don't want them accidentally clicking on show me this property on Redfin and all of a sudden you're out of luck. Although I think now we've got actually part of this change is going to add some protections to us. Communication is the last part. It doesn't need to be complicated. One other important part with communication is if you have a team, you're on a team, you work with a team, you have a transaction coordinator, you have any other infrastructure that communicates with the client, this is a great opportunity for you to share that value with the client. If you work with Blue Flags Network, you're gonna hear from Joe. Everybody's gonna hear from Joe. She's awesome and she loves you and she wants to communicate with you all the time. When you get your offer accepted, Joe's gonna email you and call you. When you get under contract, Joe's gonna email you and call you. If you have a transaction coordinator that works for you, if you have a spouse that does client care, if you have an assistant, whatever other components of your team, your process, your infrastructure, anything that lives on there, that's a great opportunity for you to sell that value. Really, really good opportunity for you to sell that value. Then they feel like you're not, if your value proposition is that you have stuff going on, you have an infrastructure, you definitely want to be able to sell that to them. Cool? Communication. All right. That's our 4 pillars. Before I jump into the end of this, which I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to talk about, is there any questions on this?
You give the client something like this?
I do. If I do this. This is my buyer's console. So home buyer guide. This is it. So you're going through it. Part 2, your wants and needs, maps right to it. Market conditions. Communication. Your preferred people. Do's and do nots for your lending, bottom line. This is ripped straight off the KW's one. Promise, not ripped, there's a lot of KW stuff in here, but there's some modifications as it pertains to us. Your agent name, promise to the community, we talk about Red Day, we do closing for a cause, which is our closing in lieu of a donation in lieu of a gift. And then just kind of a wrap up about you. So although much of this is like kind of a table read, you're gonna just like a leave behind with them that looks pretty. It's got all 4 of those parts from beginning to end. If you want a white label version of this, follow Meg, and she's got it on her stand store, and we have a white label version of this. It's not Blue Flags related. You have your vendors in here. If you're providing value to your vendors, they're going to provide value back to you. If you have a list of all the properties you sold, if you've been in business for a while, if you've not been in business for a while, don't include this. If you've been in business for a while, the more the merrier. It looks like tour dates, and it's awesome. Every year I have the intention to make like a world tour t-shirt with tour dates of the properties we closed. I've never pulled it off because I'm just too busy around that. Anyway, however you want to modify it, feel free, but that's our
Where can we get this?
at Meg, what's your?
In there, and you can actually download plus a digital copy of the sheet that's in there, and then we also have the buyer guide in there.
So yeah, so that's what we use. Cool. Any other questions on the?
Do you use PowerPoint or you just have this printed thing?
Yeah, print it out.
Just print it
I
out.
like printing it out. Or PDF if I'm Zoom meeting with them. I like analog, I like physical, I think something sitting in their, it's gonna sit on their table, wherever all of your junk stuff goes, or like all of your inbound, your mail, like. These things tend to sit there for people, and if you have strong branding, that's a really awesome opportunity for your stuff to just be mindshare, they're looking at it all the time, so. I like physical as much as we can. Any other thoughts before we jump to the last part, Pete?
I mean, how long do you tend to find that your presentation costs, like, or not, how much time do you usually take? I mean, like, and the reason I asked, I went on a buyer consult over the weekend, to your point, someone who's like. They're looking December, probably the earliest, husband might not even be interested in buying, and I can't help myself but spending 2 hours with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like. What am I doing?
Yeah, I think you and I are cut from the same cloth with that. I'll spend
And I had a great time, don't get me wrong, I love talking about it, it's like my expertise, but then I leave there and I'm like, so I was just curious how. long
Yeah, I try to avoid counting it because I probably spend more time than I do. You should be able to do this in like 30 minutes or less, 30 to 45 or
On
less.
Zoom, I'm usually pretty good.
Yeah.
In person.
Because nobody wants to be staring at the computer that long, but yeah, I tend to be longer than I should. The fastest one I've ever done was 8 minutes. And it was like, it was one of the only bottom of funnel leads I ever had, but it was a referral they were in town for a day. And they were relocating, and it was like, all right, we gotta find something. We saw 3 houses, I did the buyer's consultation at a Starbucks in Hillsdale, like, it was the fastest thing I've ever done.
Right.
And I told them, like, they had to catch the train back to the city. I was like, this is gonna be the fastest one ever. I'm like, John was with, actually, this was John's first consult he ever sat with me. I was like, John, go get the coffee, we're gonna sit down, and I like ripped through this thing really fast. And like, it was fun. It was hysterical. They were laughing about it. It was like, is that the fastest? We had the fastest one you ever
Right,
did.
yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
fun. So, yeah, it can be quick if you have to. And you're obviously gonna bridge certain things and kind of build your plane in the sky as you go, but at least you got a chance to set the most important things for them.
I got another question for you.
Go for it.
Balancing out the, probably more so in like the market conditions, wants versus needs. Balancing out like being direct and kind of realistic,
Mhm.
and then, like, I get your point, I'm with you, like, you gotta kind of take them through the process, some things, but any pointers, any thoughts on like not setting the wrong expectations by letting them dream too high, but like also not crushing their dream of being able to buy a home. You let that kind of just play out throughout what they're seeing in the market and what they're.
Yeah, I think the consult itself, you let them dream as big as they want, because that's gonna let you know how realistic they are or not. When you start to pressure test some of those things, they start their actual, how reasonable they are really starts to out itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just have to see it.
Yeah.
Right, sometimes they just have to see it. All right, cool. There's gonna be a lot of time for questions at the end. I don't have anything until 1. I do want to get through this last little part. Kind of a 5th pillar. It's not in your consult. 5th pillar, or pillar 4.5, if you want to call it that, is your unique value proposition, your UVP. Very, very, very important. This is what's going to set you apart from everybody else. There are so many different variations of it. If you're working with us to help you buy a house, we have 2 ISAs who are going to call neighborhoods that you're looking in to see if anybody else is looking for a house. You want to buy a house in Basin Lakes in Kinnelon, that's really hard to do because there's very rarely ever any inventory on it. So Mark and Michelle are going to call through every property owner in Basin Lakes and see who's willing to sell a property. Bill has the Cobb's method, which is essentially the same thing, where you're just going to call and find off-market properties that are willing to sell for the right price. It's circle prospecting. It's awesome. It's the gold. I mean, it's the golden script. It's what everybody should be doing. If you ever have to cold call, gold script is like one of the most powerful things you could do. Figure out what your UVP is. They can be part of the fabric of your organization too. Big part for our team is charity. We do a charitable donation for every single one. That's part of our UVP. You're not going to get a cutting board with our name on it or a set of Cutco knives. You're going to get a donation to LLS or Susan G. Komen or whatever is important to you, whatever is a really important thing to the clients, and that's part of our team. Vanessa Pollock is she has the website Closing for a Cause. We absolutely ripped that idea off her. But service is her most important value. It's what the Pollock group is built off of. And if you guys have that, make sure you're thinking about what your unique value proposition is. If you're brand new in the business, one of your UVPs is, I don't do anything else and I'm new and I have no other clients. So you get 100% of me and I'm going to run 1,000 miles an hour. I don't have kids. I don't have, like, whatever it is, your value proposition, sell that. That was for Meg and I, when we started, we moved into this business. We stopped everything else. We had no kids and we literally would work 16 to 18 hours a day. And you got 2 of us for 16 to 18 hours a day. So where else can you get 32 hours of labor for you in one day? Impossible. Whatever your UVP is, that's a great time to sell it. And then, oh, hey, whoever that is. Hey, whoever that is. If you think back to the Ron Cole, sell yourself, sell the company, sell the product, sell the price. Now we bring out the buyer's agency agreement and we talk about it. We say, look, there are some things changing in our marketplace. Most sellers currently are still offering a cooperating compensation. This is ours. If there's a shortfall, you'll just have to make up the difference, and that's what it costs. That's it. And you've already spent all this time talking about your value. It's really hard for them to turn around and say, whoa, wait, I gotta pay for you, I gotta spend money. It's like, did you not see all that stuff? Did you not see all the stuff that the pitfalls, the challenges, did you not? I mean, you're not gonna go out with that type of attitude, but most people realize you don't actually have to pitch that hard when you get to this point, because you've just inundated them with the process. You've inundated them with the pitfalls, the market conditions. You've overwhelmed them in most cases with the amount of things that go into a transaction. They now know why they need a real estate agent for their buyer's process. And it could cost them a little bit of money, which, by the way, means that you are the fiduciary to them. They have you. They don't have to worry about you going away. They have you under contract. You are their service provider under contract. That's just my thoughts. I just think it's that easy. It can be challenging, but all the hangups that we've talked about at that point, all we've had many different scenarios. What about this? If this person is just not trusting, you'll know all these things way ahead of time. You'll know whether this person is going to push back on you way ahead of time. Way ahead of time. Most buyers are way more emotional than they are logical. Sellers are logical. Buyers are emotional. That's the first time I did that. I usually do that every single time. You get to this point, you've already given them all the value. All you have to do is say, this product has a price tag, and here's what it is. By the way, it's a really good opportunity for you guys to start getting 3% buyer's commissions. If you guys didn't, that's really good time for you to start getting 3% buyer's commissions. Julie?
Good question. Have you ever counted up how many steps in a closing in a buyer's transaction?
No, I saw your list though. It's a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount of steps.
I bet on 60 steps, I think.
It's way more than that. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you ever counted it or if anybody ever counted it.
Yeah, I think itemization can be a bit dangerous, because you start getting them to look at, the only time I itemize it is commission plans for sellers. Because I'll itemize 5.5%, 6% to 6.5% for seller packages. And that way, if I want to win somebody, I can give them something on our 6% plan for 5.5 or 6.5% plan for 6 or whatever. I would much rather use that itemization than on the buy side, because the buy side is all or nothing. It's like they're either going to use you or they're not. And there's probably going to be a lot of people that provide free service. I think people that are willing to take 2% or less are going to go away, because Redfin's just going to take their legs out. Because Redfin's going to do it for free as long as you use their title and maybe their lender. So the options are going to be a premium service, which is what we are, I hope, and the cheap
Discount.
for by owner or whatever, for purchase by buyer, whatever the FSBO alternative is. But it's literally going to be a tech conduit like Redfin. There's going to be no what we've lovingly referred to as discount agents on the buy. Those people are not going to be in business on the buy side. There's no financial place for them. There's no financial place for them. So, and that's where I think we really want to get into the weeds. That's where I think consolidation starts to happen, because you're gonna need your value proposition to be amazing. I think we're gonna need our value proposition to be amazing. We're gonna need this process to be amazing. You guys are gonna need to do this better than anybody else can, for sure. You're gonna need to do this better than all the other agents that you're competing with, that you're sharing markets with. You're gonna need to do it better. And ultimately, there's also a cheaper free game in town, and there's probably gonna be a few of them until it settles out that somebody like Redfin wins on that side of things. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I think, I noticed you don't really go down through closing costs with them, or do you?
But no.
No.
I do not.
Because I think that can be a good way to have this conversation a little bit too, if you're kind of like dipping your toe in the water about how to have this, because you can very easy, instead of saying like, because you could be having a conversation with a buyer, first time they've ever explored buying a home. They have no idea seller is usually the one who, or where that commission would come from, right?
Yeah.
So you just break it down as part of its closing costs. And you say, hey, this is what it costs through taxes, this is your insurance, this is lender fees. And, this is my fee. Now, in most cases, we can get this covered by the seller, but in the event that we can't, then that would be part of your closing costs as well.
Mhm.
Just matter of fact, it's just a conversation, for that. So
Yep.
that's,
100%.
and to create some urgency, if you're talking to buyers, you can say to them, hey, listen, it might become more expensive to buy a home come July. You might want to get out there and start looking at homes right now.
100%. Yeah, I try not to get in the weeds with closing costs. I don't know enough about their situation to talk about that. I really wanna talk about. The only money I wanna talk about with them besides their purchase price is the fee. And I don't wanna make a mountain out of a molehill. And I think so many of us like kind of. When we
Yeah.
put money in, you put the seller commission in front of them and you like tense up and.
Yeah.
It's like service costs money and everybody's used to paying for it.
Right.
It's just if you deliver that value on the front end, selling the price is gonna be the easiest part of it. Cool. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much for attending my class. Please follow Consultation. If you'd like a white label version of that, follow Meg. She's got it on her stand store. And we'll see you guys later. If you want to chat afterward, I'll be here at night. So. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you.
This is the second part.
That's
What I like to say, buyer process.
the second part. It is the second part. I agree.